Good evening, and thank you for joining the South Metro Democratic Women's Council, Fulton County District 6 School Board Forum. My name is Patricia Fuqua Lovett, and we are the South Metro Democratic Women, and we are under 6 prongs of serving our community. We are to engage, to provide members with substantive information regarding local issues. We are to organize, and we are to identify. And our purpose to engage women of South Metro Atlanta in a wide variety of political activities, to provide members with substantive information regarding local issues, to organize education and voter registration activities for the community, and to identify and encourage women to run for office at all levels. Again, thank you for joining this evening's forum. And now I will introduce to you one of our members, Amelia Thomas.
Good evening. Here are your introduction of rules. Listen for the bell sound to indicate your time is up. This is the sound that you will hear, and it will be presented by myself. The moderator will call on each candidate in the order she chooses. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions. If a candidate's name is called by another candidate, that candidate shall have the right to a rebuttal. Time for a rebuttal shall be 2 minutes. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Are there any questions from the candidates about the rules? Hearing none, I would like to introduce Ms. Hanifa Kabam at this time. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you so much for all of you that are joining us this evening. I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator for this evening in the person of Elise Fisher. A natural innovator, Elise finds opportunities to promote positive change even in the most ingrained institutions or mindset. She is a professional certified coach. Her passion for helping others pursue individual growth, lead purposeful action, and drive sustained improvements began almost 20 years ago when she was selected as a charter member of GE Capital's Advanced Leadership and Facilitation Network, which is an internal group of highly valued associates entrusted to provide both executive coaching and workshop facilitation services for GE Capital's C-suite leaders. Elise holds a bachelor's degree from Cornell University and a master's from the Darden Graduate School of Business. She is a certified practitioner of most personality and career assessment tools, including Myers-Briggs, DISC, and emotional intelligence. A confident and trusted advisor. Elise's experience with workforce change initiatives is her foundation for helping others lead through both personal and professional transformation. She has planned and facilitated many workshops and conclaves and coached executives of several prominent multinationals, including General Electric, Kraft Foods, Sears Holding, and Nelson. In addition to her professional coaching certification, she is a certified project management professional and a certified nonprofit professional. She serves on the executive board for several nonprofits, including Claudette's Kids Foundation, the South Fulton Economic Empowerment Foundation, the Town Creek Neighborhood Association, and the Cedar Grove Community Association. I present to you a community servant, a well-rounded young lady, Elise Fisher.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
As I said, each question, the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond, but we'd first like to start out with introductions, and we'll go in alphabetical order. And so Vice President and District 6 Representative Kimberly Dove, introduce yourself, please.
Marvelous Monday. I am Kimberly Dove, the Fulton County School Board Vice President and District 6 Representative. I'm a seasoned 20-year IT manager with a bachelor's degree in science to pay my bills. However, as a working mom of 3 thriving adults who one graduated from FCS, I'm passionate about ensuring that our students in our district flourish and have opportunities for a fulfilling life and after high school. In the 4 short years that I've been on the board, I've received over 160 hours of board training from GSBA, NSBA, and CUE, which is the Council of Urban Boards of Education, local and national organizations. Additionally, I've had the pleasure of raising 2 bonus children. You are correct. I have raised 5 thriving adults. I'm a grandparent to an Atlanta Hawks-sized team that attends FCS. I have decades of education experience. I've been advocating for students, including my own, and parent-teacher student associations in elementary, middle, and high school, Renaissance, Sandtown, Camp Creek, and Westlake, working directly with the schools to improve their outcomes. Finally, I'm a committed member. I've attended all 80 board meetings and retreats in 4 years. I host monthly community meetings throughout District 6 to serve and to share what's happening on the board and with our community members. I've attended many neighborhood association and municipal meetings. I'm a proven, committed leader who delivers on valuable education. Yes, DOVE, D-O-V-E, stands for delivering on valuable education. Thank you and expect the best.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I would like to thank the South Metro Democratic Women for allowing me to share my platform this evening. I would also like to thank my family who is watching live from Florida. So hello, Mom, hello, Pops. My sisters and my brothers are also tuned in this evening. I am Dr. LaTanya Martin Rogers, educator, community advocate, and former city council member for the city of East Point, Georgia. I am running to be the next Fulton County School Board District 6 representative. To go ahead and clear the air, back in 2018, I did run for this seat. Although I was not successful, one thing that didn't happen was I did not stop doing the work. So with that being said, I sounded the alarm in regards to the Fulton County School Board reneging on their promise of rebuilding 2 schools in the city of South Fulton, which allowed me to work with local municipalities, the NAACP, New Georgia Project, the D9 family, parents, community, and students to help hold Fulton County schools accountable for the promise that they made to stakeholders. I've worked as a CASA. A CASA is a court-appointed special advocate in which I have stood in the gap for students in Fulton County that are currently in the DFACS system. I have also created 2 online platforms for parents that are currently living in District 6 and also District 3. One platform started as a face-to-face platform, which was a parent university. We met in local libraries starting in 2017 in East Point, Georgia, College Park, and also Union City. During these parent universities, parents were provided with financial literacy classes. They were provided information on how to communicate with their children. And they were also provided information on mentors that were in the local area to help them navigate the public school system. I'm a graduate of the South Fulton University, a graduate of the Fulton County Polls Workers University, and I also have committed my time to volunteering and helping organizations that serve students in District 6. On May 24th, please vote for me, LaTanya Martin Rogers.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Was that the bell?
That was the bell.
Okay, it's faint.
Okay, we'll try to fix that.
Thank you.
Let's stay with you for a second. What issues do you, Dr. Rogers, believe District 6 needs to address in its academic program and offering, and what changes would you recommend?
One of the things that I'd like to say is this. Since 2018, I have not stopped working in our community. This candidacy for the seat this time around, I've taken a more organic approach where I've been in direct contact with people that are in District 6, which means I've talked to parents, I've talked to students, I've talked to teachers. I've also talked with ministers in local municipalities, and some of the things and issues that have arisen in District 6. And I would like to say what is most important is this time around in this campaign, it has allowed me to become more of a listener. And so some of the things that have been stated and many of those concerns which were brought to my attention during this time was keeping the community informed, silence regarding the issues that directly impact District 6, especially the county's steamroll effort to close Conley Hills Elementary School and also Frank McLaren High School. The establishment of partnerships throughout the district. More parents said that they would like to see an establishment of more partnerships, being responsive to the community's communication. Parents said that they've reached out to board members and have yet to receive a response. So communication was something that came out in regards to the listening sessions. And working to maintain valuable partnerships within the district that can help sustain our schools, and being visible at local schools and community events. Another thing that was brought about was one community leader said that they would like to see an advisory board established for District 6 in regards to getting information, receiving information, and working together collaboratively through this advisory council to make things better in District 6. The narrative of District 6 needs to change. Thank you.
Representative Dove, what are you most proud? What accomplishments are you the most proud of? And what more would you intend to do in the next term?
I am most proud of the fact that Conley Hills will be built. It is a promise made and a promise kept. Our board started looking for over 20 acres of land in 2018. If you live in a city of East Point, that land was not available to us. We could not rebuild on Conley Hills land. Therefore, when I spoke to a room full of parents and I asked our community how much experience did they have in looking for 20 acres of commercial land, and not one person raised their hand. So we've been working in and searching for land in East Point since 2018. Our new superintendent wanted to build an addition to Paul D. West to accommodate students of Conley Hills and convert that into a K-8. I made the motion not to agree. The motion passed. We now will build a replacement of Conley Hills on 14 acres of land that we own. The other thing I'm most proud of is our graduation rates. We've increased our graduation rates over 2%. We've opened a STEM academy, STEAM, technology, engineering, and math, and our students are overjoyed. They love the small building. They love the engagement of the teachers. I'm also proud of the fact that I do host monthly meetings throughout our community. I am available, and I have reached out to many of parents. I represent, and District 6 represents over 24,000 students. We serve over 31 schools. We have elementary, middle, high, as well as additional programming. Those are just a few things that I'm proud of.
Thank you. Thank you. And
A
Mrs. Dove,
rebuttal?
no, this is a forum, not a debate.
Okay.
Thank you. Mrs. Dove, we'll stick with you. How will you work to include and increase minority hiring and contracting within Fulton County Schools?
Absolutely. So how I will work to increase minority hiring, we have a lot of teachers and educators. They happen to be African American. And in that, we work, our budget has over 80% that are teachers, and over that amount is about African American. So as we continue to grow our inventory, the role of the board is to work with the superintendent as well as with the contracting to approve purchases over a certain amount of money. Therefore, it is our role as a Board of Education to ensure that those monies are being spent with fidelity.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, in your opinion, are District 6 parents engaged enough in day-to-day activities, available resources in educating their children? And if they are not, how would you improve and increase the level of participation?
Thank you so much for that question. One of the cornerstones of my campaign is the very first cornerstone, which is parental engagement. And parents are a central part of the educational process. As I stated earlier, I'm the content creator of 2 online platforms, the Parent University and also the District 3 and 6 Schools Matter pages, in which I've been working with parents and the community for quite some time to provide them resources that are readily available to them through Fulton County School Districts. I work with parents to provide online conversations and resources centered on education. And I have developed, if I had the opportunity to develop and improve, what I would do is have dedicated social media accounts, because there seems or appears to be a lack of communication throughout the district. As I said, if I've been on this journey, a lot of parents were just really talking about transparency. They talked about the lack of communication. There are lots of ways for us to engage our parents. Those are some things that I'm currently doing now. But what I would like to see is us to utilize social media as an avenue, perhaps a District 6 community page in which parents can also receive information. The start of this movement has also opened the gates for the parents of Banneker, that is also a community, the parents of McNair, which is also a community, and also the parents of Camp Creek. These are all online platforms that have been started that have momentum to help keep parents engaged and informed. And lastly, the Fulton County Schools has a parent and family engagement plan already in place to help parents know the expectations and strategies. I would tap into this resource further by ensuring there's one parent liaison.
Thank you.
Every school.
Representative Dove, same question. Do you want me to repeat it? Okay. Are District 6 parents engaged enough in the day-to-day activities, available resources in educating their children? And if they are not, what would you do to improve and increase their, what have you already done? And what would you do to improve it even further?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. I would say that our parents are engaged. As you remember, in March of 2020, we had a pandemic where the world was shut down. Our parents were disengaged, and they didn't have an opportunity to connect with Fulton County Schools. So during that time, what we created was a curriculum hub for our parents. We partnered with Comcast, Cable, AT&T, as well as other networks to put on curriculum for our K-2 students. We also made sure that those parents were engaged by connecting with me electronically, as well as through email and through my newsletter. So I send out a newsletter to our parents, and I receive often feedback. And in that, I've attended those community meetings where our parents are engaged. I would like to see more parent engagement. At my community meetings, when we started, before I was on the board, I was told that there were about 5 to 10 parents and monthly at those meetings. We are up to 30 to 40 parents a meeting. So we are engaged. Our parents are leaned in. We are doing some amazing things in District 6, and especially in all of the schools that we represent in the cities of East Point, College Park, Fairburn, Union City, and the city of South Fulton.
Thank you. So I see in the chat that there is a question on charter schools, and before we open the chat, there were several questions on charter schools. So we're just going to focus in on charter schools for a second. I'll start with the first question in this section. Many of my neighbors have chosen to put their children in private schools or charter schools. What major steps will you take to ensure that quality schools can exist in our zip codes? Why is there such a dramatic difference between communities in North Atlanta with the same economic base producing higher test scores? And as a board member, how can you ensure parents that quality instruction is occurring in all schools? I'll start with you, Representative Dove.
That is a complex question. So let me start with charter schools. The charter schools are an option for parents who may want to send their child because of religion, who may want to send their child because of a dual immersion. Public school is not for every person. We are to educate by law each and every child, whether they have discipline issues, whether they have social emotional needs. We don't get a chance to turn away those students. We don't get an opportunity to turn away students who may not have A's and B's, who have the economic background that some parents may have, or the level of engagement. What I would like to see is that our parents invest more into our local schools by showing up, by putting that same money and resources to help our students in District 6. In other areas that you mentioned before, their PTA participation is about 95%. In our area, it is low, but just like a working mom, I understand our parents have multiple priorities. They send their children to our schools to be educated and to be kept safe. So if we continue in that same vein and keep our leadership, and when I say leadership, the Board of Education has one employee. That employee is the superintendent of schools. Since I've been on the board, I've had 3 superintendents. Since the last 3 years, our test scores have risen. We've implemented in the science of reading, and we're implementing structures in place to help our educators become better and providing resources for them.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, same area, but different question. What is your understanding about how resources are allocated between public schools and charter schools? Are charter schools siphoning off too much funding from our public schools, and how would you address that?
Thank you so much for that question. But the first thing I would like to go ahead and address is that we currently have 7 schools in District 6 that are performing below the 5th percentile in the state of Georgia. And they are all schools in District 6 at the elementary school level. We have College Park, Oakley, Conley Hills, Bethune, Fellwood, S.L. Lewis, and Paul D. West. The district is doing something to meet those needs of the students, but as the 2017 AJC article stated, it's a tale of 2 Fulton counties. The difference is poverty levels and the mobility of our parents. Many parents are living below the socioeconomic status, and in essence, it affects all of those things that a student must face prior to getting up, coming to school, and being a productive student. So you asked me about the allocation of funds. The first thing I would like to say is that the Fulton County School District is doing an excellent job as far as allocating funds. They received an award for the best practices in school funding, and their budget process starts every July first. There's an allotment of formulas that are developed, and the formulas work in conjunction with the district mission and the board's mission. On April 30th, there was a budget presentation done in which the CFO said that due to increased revenue, state funding has improved above projections. Fulton County Schools is in a better position than previously anticipated. The projected revenue of the Fulton County School District is $1.4 billion, which was proposed, and they'd have $1.6 billion in revenues. Fulton County Schools has a history of strong financial management, utilizing district resources, taxpayer funds, and the ability to address shortfalls. You asked me about the allocation. And what I wanted to say was this year, Fulton County received $168 million.
Thank you. Next question. And there's, again, a series of questions around the curriculum, the kind of learning and experiences that students receive in our schools and our district. I'll start this one with you, Dr. Rogers. To encourage students to become good citizens, what policies should Fulton County School Board set regarding the teaching of moral and ethical behavior?
That is a great question, and it falls up under my Safe and Smart Schools initiatives. And under these initiatives, there are two. One is entitled Safe and Sound Schools, which kind of stemmed from the Sandy Hook violence that we lost the lives of 26 students. That is an initiative that is currently being used in districts across the country. It allows students to have a voice in the safety of their school community and the participation in local partnerships with community leaders. The other initiative that falls up under the 5 cornerstones of my campaign are Not in Our Schools, and it stems from an initiative entitled Not in Our Towns. Not in Our Schools is centered on youth councils in which it gives students the opportunity to feel safe, be safe, report bullying, but most importantly, it allows students to have lessons created with teachers, with parents, with community leaders that centers around tolerance and acceptance of all people, no matter your socioeconomic status, no matter your race or your religious preference. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Dove, same question. To encourage students to become good citizens, what policies should Fulton County School Board set regarding the teaching of moral and ethical behavior?
We already have policies that are set around social emotional learning. And an example of that is that our students are in blocks where they are being taught things like meditation, be kind, say hello, greet your friend, and things of that nature. As you are aware, we are in Georgia milestone testing phase right now. It started today and it goes through the end of the week. And I had one young person tell me that they're going to use the meditation techniques taught in school in order to breathe and relax and get through a test such as the Georgia Milestones test. So I think that we have a lot of work to do. We have social emotional workers. When there is a threat, we make sure that those students are provided with an immediate response team that comes into those buildings to help with our students. We also partner with external psychologists for mental health awareness for our students. So we do believe and we actively participate in those today.
Thank you. Thank you. On this matter of testing, and thank you for sharing that the testing was occurring this week. Representative Dove, one of the questions that has come in through the live feed, what will you do to change the narrative around our traditional public schools? CCRPI, and I don't know what that means, I hope you do. CCRPI scores, news reports, and anecdotal conversation don't tell the whole story.
They absolutely don't. I mean, we're in the state of Georgia, and our legislation is what it is. And the CCPRI was created in order for one particular person to take over our schools. So they came up with this rating, and in that rating, they also changed state exams. They changed how we were testing. This week, we are about to embark on the first time in testing in 2 years, y'all. 2. So our children have not been tested in 2 years. That counts. And so this is going to be a major turnaround for us. So as we continue to communicate, we hired a person that is specifically for South communication, and we certainly have a lot more to do. But what I would like to see is some of our parents tout the good news that we're doing instead of the bad things that we're doing. Absolutely, I take credit and I take responsibility for things that we can improve on, but it's not all bad. We have students that are graduating with millions of dollars at Banneker High School, at Tri-Cities High School, at Creekside. So, and at all of our high schools, at Langston Hughes, and so and the number goes on. So with that, we need to continue to do that. And those students are not telling us that they lack an education. We're providing them exactly what they need.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Rogers, same question. What would you do to change the narrative? It's not all bad in our schools.
I believe that starts with our board representative. And one thing that I would like to say that, you know, across many of these school board districts, you have the board representative that talks up the excellent things that are happening in our schools. I have friends that sit on the DeKalb County School Board, that sit on the Cobb County School Board, and they are constantly using social media to get good messages out there. There's also board members that currently sit on the Fulton County School Board that are constantly utilizing social media to change the narrative of District 6. For far too long, District 6 has been disenfranchised, and it starts at the top with leadership, not leadership starting during an election year, but ongoing leadership. Once elected into this office, again, one of the things that I would like to institute is a District 6 advisory board, because no one can work in this position in isolation without the community, without students, without all hands on deck to change the narrative of District 6, because we really do have good things happening in District 6, but we need it to come from the top. The people that we elect to represent us should be advocating from their seats and talking District 6 up. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Representative Dove, again, this is from the chat. So much of District 3 and District 6 overlap. How can the SGCs be leveraged to create an overall strategic plan?
Wow, that is a great question. I would like to just add that as the District 6 board representative, before I was on the board, we didn't have Proud Points. And every month, you could go back to every tape, I start with the Proud Points of District 6. I also post them on social media, on all of my pages, as well as making sure that my attitude, my enthusiasm is spread throughout the district. So as a leader on the board, I continue to be positive and set that positive message out to our community. And next, so we started a Langston Hughes cluster. Ms. Warren started it with the Langston Hughes cluster and the SGCs. And so we'll continue to expand that program through District 6 to Banneker and through the feeder schools. District 3 and District 6 and District 4 are overlapping. It's not just one, all of the South schools are overlapping. And so we share that in common. So I would like to continue to see that happening. Again, you know, parents in the community, COVID has really put a damper on where we were. In 2019, before I got on the board, we had 14 schools on a chronically failing list. And now we've reduced that significantly. So with that, I would like to say that we continue to improve with COVID. We're getting out of it. We're putting in a science of reading and ensuring that everyone can teach reading. Because as you know, the teacher shortage and in colleges, they're not really teaching literacy for kids. And when they come to kindergarten, they expect that kindergartners already know how to read and know phonics. So we're working on that as a district.
Thank you. Thank you. New topic, Dr. Rogers. In what grades are children receiving lessons in civics? How do we ensure that every student fully understands the basic tenets of the Constitution and the rights they should expect as citizens?
Thank you so much. As a public school educator, delivering on valuable education each day through my classroom and working with other teachers and principals, not only in my school building, but throughout the district. Georgia Department of Education sets standards for educating our children. And civics, the civics curriculum starts as early as kindergarten, in which students are taught to be good citizens. From kindergarten up until first and second grades, that is where we delve into a little bit of government. And as it progresses, that is where social studies really begins to play a role in civic education. Our Constitution, the state of Georgia is heavily taught. Also, members that are important to society, for instance, Martin Luther King, President Carter is also taught. So throughout the district and throughout the curriculum, civics is taught. Being a good citizen is taught every day in classrooms by teachers planning lessons centered around the Georgia Department of Standards, lesson planning, and curriculum and instruction. So civics is taught throughout K through 12 classrooms, along with American history, history of Georgia, important people that have made an impact in the United States of America. Thank you so much for that question. And that would also fall up under one of the cornerstones of my campaign.
Thank you.
Student achievement.
Thank you. Representative Dove, same question, but I'll repeat it because I want to make sure the part about it wasn't really about being a good citizen. So I'll just repeat the whole question. In what grades are children receiving lessons in civics? And if you know, maybe that's already been answered, but how do we ensure that every student fully understands the basic tenets of the Constitution and the rights they should expect as citizens of this country?
The Georgia Department of Education sets standards as it relates to civics, and we're holding to those standards inside the classroom. Those are taught K through 12. Now, how do we ensure that they are being done? Is that by we continue to partner with organizations such as yours to come in to teach voting rights to our students who are of the voting age, as well as give presentations to those. I welcome that to our community meetings as well, to have another opportunity to share that with our students. But I also think that it's a collective effort. We're doing it inside the classrooms. We need to do it inside of our communities, inside of our municipal governments as well. I know the city of Union City now has a junior council in which they're helping those students to learn and grow what civic responsibility and means for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. There's another question in the chat, and this one is specifically for you, Representative Dove. What will you do to help graduating seniors? And they explain, because District 4 is helping with scholarships and college applications, and whoever submitted this question says they never hear about scholarships in District 6.
That's a really good question. Each district is unique. And in District 4, the board member has a medium in which she shares, and on that board, it's a collective group. She is not doing that only as a board member. she has the same information that she is sharing, and her awesome board ends up having these events in which they are doing. So it's not a Fulton County Schools funded event. I also have served lunch for District 6 principals on my own dime and on my own money. So I continue to support our schools in that way. So in those scholarships, if you follow me on social media, you will see that those are there as well. And then making sure that those are elated. The other thing is that Westlake is a student, is part of my district as well. So we have district students that's in the district. As a board member, we represent every student in every district. And I just want to make sure that everyone is clear that the service on the local Board of Education is crucial. And it's a specialized nature and unique role of membership on a local board. And this office is characterized and treated differently than any other elected office, where the primary duty is to independently represent consistent views. There are many measures of a local Board of Education, but one is essential: maintaining accreditation and allowing our students to have opportunities in the school system.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, another question, again from the chat. What will you do to stem the proliferation of charter schools in District 6?
Well, as many of you know, I'm a public school educator. I am in support of any school that is about the education of our children. But as we also know, District 6 has very limited opportunities because of those CCR-PI scores. And for the record, the CCR-PI score is the College Career Readiness Performance Index. It is where the state of Georgia measures our academics, it measures attendance, it measures 5 categories in which schools are rated on a scale from 0 to 100. I honestly believe that this is our opportunity to make history. Times are changing, and I feel that we need people with skill sets on the board that can represent our district to the full capacity. Working in the full capacity means your experience. How have you been advocating from your seat? What experience do you have in education? I've heard a lot of talk about how the board functions as one entity, but I haven't heard much talk about individualized programs or initiatives that have been taking on, yes, responsibilities. Board members do have responsibilities, but I think the first responsibility is to the community that you represent. Having those listening sessions, listening to parents. I've attended those community meetings, and there are not more than 3 parents in attendance at those community meetings. Many of those community meetings are filled with board representatives from Fulton County Schools. I believe one parent said it best: they're all in here talking to each other and not us. So I have the opportunity to be the first educator elected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Dove, another question that came in from the chat. There is some sentiment that the educators are a very insular group, and that they would benefit from having people with different perspectives as a part of their leadership team. Do you have a point of view on that, and what's your perspective?
Could you please repeat the question? I didn't hear the first part.
This person has said that they believe that educators are an insular group, which means that they really only want other educators there, and that they sometimes are not inclusive of other perspectives and opinions that could maybe help further address problems in the school districts. And this person asked, what is your perspective on that?
I believe that a board could comprise of an educator. We have one currently on our board. I also think that there is a danger and a risk if every board member was an educator. As you may recall, recently, we had an accreditation issue with one board because the educators felt as if they could be the superintendent and they knew better on how to move the needle and how to move schools. Our role as board members is to ensure that the academic success of our children are there, that the quality of the education is there, that when I walk in one school in District 6, I go in District 4, I go in District 1, or I'm in District 2, that the level of instruction is there. So there is value, but there also is danger when you have an entire board of educators at the risk of losing your accreditation, which is one of our essential goals, is to make sure that we maintain accreditation.
Thank you. Next question, and again, it's in the chat, so you may be able to see it. And we'll start with you, Ms. Dove. How can we encourage the Tri-City municipalities to increase our investment in our schools?
That would be awesome if we could do that. I know one thing from the Board of Education, we approved a tax allocation district in the city of East Point, which is an area tag, and it would allow them to increase their revenue. And with that revenue, it is our hope that they continue to invest, that our municipalities will provide after-school activities outside of the school building. Our school children are in our school 6 hours. We are doing the best we can. Our educators come to school every day with a mindset willing to support our students who they know have different needs, who may be transient, and yet they still are engaged. So it'll be really useful for those cities to use funding to help partner and provide educational opportunities, recreational opportunities outside of the school day. And during the pandemic, school was the only thing open. Everyone else was closed, but grocery stores and schools. So we've been targeted as a nation of Board of Educations across the United States, and especially in the state of Georgia.
Thank you. Thank you. New question, again, coming from the chat. Dr. Rogers, what plans do you have to protect LGBTQ young people, LGBTQ equal sign, I think that's part of the question, LGBTQ equal young people from abuse and discrimination?
Thank you so much for that question. And I would like to go ahead and announce, as I have on Facebook, that I am the only candidate in this election endorsed by the Georgia Equality here in the state of Georgia. I look forward to partnering with them to shed light on many of those issues that our LGBTQ plus community faces in school. Again, there are 5 cornerstones of my campaign, and one of those cornerstones falls up under problem solving through partnerships. This is uncharted territory. Again, I am the only candidate in this election endorsed by Georgia Equality. I think that we need to have safe spaces for all students and for all parents of students that identify as LGBTQ. A couple of initiatives that have already taken place, and mind you, Fulton County Schools could use an equity policy in place to further address that community, but that may be a conversation for another day. However, school districts, one district in particular, hired someone to look at all of the policies so that there was equity throughout the district. But one thing in particular that was looked at is students that attended Atlanta Public Schools that identified as LGBTQ. Atlanta Public Schools brought on a task force in which they looked at partnerships with Georgia Equality, Georgia Safe Schools Coalition, and also Zami Nobla, which is located in East Point, Georgia. After this task force was enacted, they gave recommendations to Atlanta Public Schools, in which a few policies were changed to meet the needs of those students. So I think that it is more or less getting people in.
Thank you.
that we support.
Thank you. Next question. Mrs. Dove, how will you increase, integrate, and sustain mental health and wellness in our schools, both staff and students?
In our budget, we have additional resources for social emotional workers. We have allocated funding for our teachers. In some of our schools, we even have a safe place, a mental relaxing area. Surely, I would like to see that across more of our schools in District 6, District 4, and in District 3. I would like, and that's one area where our community partners can come in and help us with that. They can come help with our teachers, with the mental awareness and the safety that they have. Our educators have been under a tremendous amount of stress, and for themselves, for their students, and for their families. We have a lot of families that are underemployed in District 6. So meeting them at their needs looks very different to a family who has 2 working parents, to a family who has a well-educated parent, as well as being an activist. So in our district, we have to go out into the apartment complexes where I visit them to talk to the parents who feel like they cannot come into the school building. So we continue to do that throughout our district all the time, 4 years and counting.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, do you have any innovative programs supported by data that you feel comfortable proposing to our schools?
Innovative data.
In
One thing, yes. One thing that I would like to propose to our schools, well, actually, this isn't even innovative. This has something to do with policies that are in place. Once elected, one of the policies that I will focus on is public comments. Public comments are not shared with the public. In fact, if you'd like to make a public comment, you have to call the superintendent's office, give your name and address, and also what it is that you would like to speak about. In most governmental entities, taxpayers are allowed to show up to a meeting, speak their mind, and leave. But however, there are a lot of steps that one must make in order to make public comments. But the fact that public comments are not viewed for the masses, how do we get information, or how do we find out what is working in North Fulton with North Fulton parents? If there's an issue with South Fulton parents, we don't know. And for so long, public comments have not been viewed. What I've done in this work is gone live from Fulton County School Board meetings and shared information in that juncture. So no, that's not anything that is innovative, but it is something that is needed. Also, something that I would that I look forward to working on is an equity policy. I believe back in 2020, the South Fulton Parents for Education brought forth an equity policy, and Fulton County School Board response was a parental rights bill. We are still coming off the heels of George Floyd, and I believe that our school districts must do more to include everyone that matters. Fulton County School District is made up of 41% African-American students, 27% white, and 16% Hispanic and other. So I would like to look at our policies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The same question, Representative Dove. Do you have any innovative programs supported by data that you feel comfortable proposing to our schools?
Innovative data, the
innovative programs supported by data.
Absolutely. So I don't have anything that's innovative because we're already doing it. We're taking a state law that is using the high school option B, and we're turning McLaren High School into a middle college where our high school students will have the ability to graduate with a high school diploma and 2 technical college education credits. We're doing that. We're doing the work to make sure that it happens. And I'm also holding the superintendent accountable for those rates of our students in reading. So that is not innovative. We need to get back to the business of educating our kids making sure that our students can read and write and do high level math.
Thank you. Next question, and this one is in the chat. It was specifically for our current board member, but we'll give both candidates an opportunity to answer it. Here's the question. Why is there always just a 2% increase for teachers? Do you think they're worth more? And if so, how do you help them get more money to keep good teachers?
Oh, have you been listening? So one of the superintendent's recommendation to our board, and it's not always just 2%. Unfortunately, if I had our lovely chart where we've always given a raise to our teachers, and we missed in 2020 because of the pandemic. So we are right now giving them a 2%, and the superintendent is recommending an additional 3%. So they will receive a total of 5%. But let me tell you this, what I've heard from our educators is that the money is awesome, but they also want to have some freedom. They want to have some flexibility. They want to be able to go to class and go to this relaxing room in order to release and relate for themselves and some of the stress that they're under. So 2% is not always, but 2% is based off of our budget. And if you look around the district, at Fulton, we have this, what our HR calls a MAP problem. It really is, Fulton sits in the middle of several bordering districts who wait for each other to give raises and give percentages increases. And we're taking from the same pool of educators. And nationally, before the pandemic, we had a reduced rate of people wanting to even become teachers. So we knew that there was going to be a teacher shortage. So with that teacher shortage, I want to make sure that our teachers are paid, but also what are some other low-hanging fruit that we can give that's important for them? They asked about time. They want to be able to have a spring or fall break. They have a spring break, but to have a fall break. Those are the things in which the educators share with me.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, same question. How would you make sure that good teachers are properly compensated?
Well, as an educator myself, one way to make sure teachers are properly compensated is to increase the pay and to advocate for it. Most districts do provide teachers with a 2% raise. However, based upon the April 30th meeting, the budget meeting in which the CFO touted about keeping the millage rate at an all-time low, and that the focus would be on instructional support and school staff. But most importantly, it talked about Fulton County schools being in a better position than previously anticipated, and the projected revenue is $1.4 billion. Why not increase the 2% to 5%? Those are things that should be advocated for as board members. Looking across the district, the money is there. We should invest into keeping good teachers. We should invest in keeping good bus drivers, keeping good janitors, and that starts with the incentive of money. The other thing that could be looked into is professional development for teachers. What is free? What is being offered? Also, what I always look for and what I advocate for is a leadership track for teachers. Can teachers move up in the county in which they work in through an advanced leadership program? The other thing that I would look at as far as the budget is concerned is just advocating for more money. Because as the CFO said, Fulton County Schools has a history of strong financial management of district resources, taxpayer funds, and the ability to address shortfalls. So we should start with our budgeting and increasing those percentages to at least 5 to 6%. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, and we'll start with you, Ms. Rogers. Currently, student discipline is a real concern in South Fulton County schools. What programs do you propose to implement that will improve student discipline?
All right, so thank you so much for that question. And that falls up under another cornerstone of my campaign, safe and smart school communities. What I'd like to add is we have to provide our students, teachers, and everyone in the school community with something that I call grace. Our students have not been in schools for 2 years, so the social aspect piece of being brought back to your classroom, it's difficult for them. It's not only difficult for them, it's difficult for their peers, it's difficult for their parents, because some of the things that may have transpired at their homes may be unacceptable, but our students had to deal with them. Discipline has been an issue in Fulton County schools. I've been a part of the conversations at Tri-Cities and also at Banneker, in which community leaders called me to come in. And through those hard conversations, the superintendent has put into place a series of things that he would like to implement as far as group fights becoming a category 4, a full year of suspension. Weapons are just as serious, where students will receive charges for bringing weapons to school. He's also met with the Fulton County DA's office, where they are in talks about a memorandum of understanding so that they could have a multi-agency truancy prevention. And the system is also looking at district gang violence prevention. He wants the district attorney's office to participate in these programs and also provide training alongside law enforcement. Fulton County Schools, or the superintendent, has laid out this plan, but what I'd like to see is consistency. The plan has been laid out. We must ensure that resources are placed
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Dove, same question with a little bit of a twist, right? Because you've been in the seat. What programs have you already put in place, and what more do you propose to implement that will improve student discipline?
As a member of the Fulton County School Board, and some of the incidents that happened that were highlighted in news media, I had to be intricately involved in that process and making sure that we work with the communities as well as implement programs that are around. One of the things that has not been mentioned is that I was part of that kickoff meeting where we looked at safety for our schools and students, who some of our police departments in some of the cities that are in District 6 were not even represented. So that is very alarming to me when we have some, maybe they were unavailable and couldn't be there at the time, but we want to make sure that we continue those partnerships because our students are there. So one of the things that I would like to see happen is that we're seeing an increased number of serious discipline issues at elementary school. And right now we do not have a way to educate those students after they've been expelled for over a year. So I would like to see us implement a program for our elementary school level kids that happen to find themselves in conditions that maybe they were not aware of and did not mean to intend harm on another student and was just young enough not to do that.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, should you be elected to the school board, what are your top 3 priorities?
Once I'm elected to the school board, there are 5 cornerstones of my campaign in which I touched on last night. Since 2018, I believed in the cornerstones of my campaign so wholeheartedly that I continue to work through them. One is parental engagement, high-end student achievement, problem solving through partnerships, safe and smart school communities, and open dialogue with county and community. So it's not 2 priorities, it's more or less 5 priorities. So those are the cornerstones of my campaign. As I've stated, I've worked through them since 2018, community advocacy work, and being a voice for the voiceless that are in District 6. So I am going to institute those 5 cornerstones of my campaign. Thank you so much for that question.
Thank you. Representative Dove, same question. What should you be reelected? What are your top 3 priorities for this next term?
When I'm reelected, I would like to continue the good work that we've already started, which is to remediate our students in reading so that we can reduce the prison pipeline. I also want to continue focusing on resources and services that keep our kids safe, with safety cameras, with lighting in our parking lots, making sure that our environments are there, continue partnering with other local municipalities, as well as the judicial system, juvenile courts, and the Solicitor General. As a matter of fact, we're having a 100-day summer of peace with Solicitor Keith Gamage and Judge Kenya Johnston, just to ensure that we keep our students safe. We're also building that middle college. I want to see that open. I want to see our children walking there with excitement. I want to see a daycare. I want to see early childhood. I want to know exactly what that feels like and what it means to our students. I will continue to support tax allocation districts in South Fulton that bring economic development to our areas.
Thank you. One last question before we go to your closing remarks. And I'll still just part of the question that came through the chat. Dr. Rogers, in your opinion, what are the greatest strengths of District 6?
The greatest strengths of District 6 are the community partnerships that are established in the district, that have been established in the district, that have not been tapped into. We have people that are doing work in the community that do not have the position, like myself. We have the Next Level Boys Academy. We also have Just Us Girls. We also have Ignite down in College Park. We have an Aero Institute down in Union City. So I think the greatest strengths of District 6 are the people and the parents and the community advocates that live here that have been doing the work, but that aren't in the seat. The people that love this community, the parents that love their children. We have the Tri-Cities Alumni Association, which has stood in the gap at Tri-Cities High School. I think the greatest strength of District 6 is the people that live here. District 6 has been disenfranchised for so long through systematic inequities in education, and it is time for a new voice, someone that will stand in the gap for the students and the parents and the stakeholders and our community allies in District 6. So I'd like to give a shout out to those groups that I just mentioned and continue to do the work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Representative Dove, same question. What are the greatest strengths in District 6?
Oh, you know I love this question. It's a marvelous Monday in District 6. One of the greatest strengths is we opened up a safe center in Banneker High School to allow those partnerships to happen. So when a mother loses their job, they can come into the safe center, get some clothes, and go on a job interview the same day and get a job. Our students can go into this safe center, wash their clothes without being bullied by their friends because they didn't have an opportunity to wash their clothes. We have a college and career academy that sits on the opposite side of Banneker High School, and it's the only one in Fulton County school systems because it speaks directly to our community by an airport, using avionics, teaching and as a profession, as well as construction. You see, some of our students, they were able to work at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium when it was built because we afforded them the opportunity to earn an industry certification while attending high school. Our students are CTAE certified. We have a 3DE program at Banneker. We opened up one at Tri-Cities. And when I tell you our ninth graders knocked it out the park when they presented an idea to a Fortune 500 company, and that company took that idea and ran with it, that's what I know District 6 to be. What I also know is that we have community rappers who invest in our middle schools to put not just a pantry there, but a pantry with refrigeration, a pantry with Nikes in it, a pantry with new clothes, not just used clothes, but new clothes. I also know about College Park and their food pantry, Brookview and their washing machines, and the community that supports them. I could go on and on and on about the wonderful things that are happening inside of our schools. I would love to see us continue to work together to make our community strong. But that's it.
Thank you. Okay, so let's do closing. I see a couple more questions have come through, but we're going to move to closing. And so Dr. Rogers, your closing comments, 2 minutes, please.
All right, thank you so much. First of all, I would be remiss if I did not address the 2006 TAD. East Point applied for the 2006 TAD back in 2006, and they still have not received approval. So that is one fact that I wanted to put out there for our people listening tonight. Also, back in 2016, the East Floss was voted on by voters. There were 4 schools on this list: Riverwood International Charter, Crabapple Middle School, Frank McLaren High School, and Conley Hills Elementary School. As we all know, the 2 schools in North Fulton are complete and they are open for business. However, not a stone has been turned on those schools in South Fulton. Miraculously, during this election year, Fulton County found 30 acres of land that they currently own within the city of East Point, but they've owned that land for 20 decades. So, you know, I had to put those facts out there. And lastly, it wasn't the work of the Fulton County School Board. It was the work of community advocates like myself that attended school board meetings and talked about the renege of the promise to voters. So that information is well documented on our social media. That is through advocacy work. I also heard mention of all of the wonderful things going on throughout District 6, but let's not take credit when we have not utilized our seat and our voice. Please vote for LaTanya Martin Rogers for the Fulton County School Board District 6. Be a part of history. Let's be the change and elect the first educator to the District 6 seat. Our students, our parents, our communities, and all stakeholders deserve better representation. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Representative Dove, closing statement.
I am Kimberly Dove, Fulton County Schools Vice President and District 6 Representative with 4 years of board experience and leadership experience. I ask for your vote for Kimberly Dove to keep District 6 moving forward on May 24th. The state and federal legislation, public education has been targeted by diverting funds to private schools. Now is not the time to change leaders in the South when we have a new board, 3 new positions opening up on the team. Experience and leadership are required to navigate the unique needs of the boards of education. As I mentioned earlier, Dove has delivered on millions of dollars to support technology, laptops, tablets, and internet access, increasing our graduation rates, opening a STEM academy, and approved area TADs for College Park and East Point. Remember, Dove delivering on valuable education, a leader who has earned respect and trust of parents, educators, municipal and state legislators. Visit my website, Kimberly R. Dove, or follow me on social media, Kimberly R. Dove. Thank you and vote for the Dove. Can you find the Dove? Expect the best.
Thank you. Thank you to both candidates. We appreciate your time and attention and sharing all of your information and your platform with those who are listening today to us. Thank you. And with this, I will turn it over to our president, Mrs. Gloria Jenkins.
Good evening, and a special thanks to each of our candidates for participating tonight. We've heard some valuable information, a lot of which some of us know about, and then some we don't know about, but we want to applaud each of you for your passion in serving the young people and the adults in our community. Want to remind our viewing audience that on this Thursday, April 28th, we will be hearing from our judges, and we'll have a From the Bench series that starts at 7:00 p.m. And a voter alert: during early voting, the polls are only open between 9 and 5. So don't go there before 9 and don't go after 5. They're only open between 9 and 5. Early voting starts May 2nd. And polls will be open on Saturday and Sunday during early voting. And please check your mail. There are cards that are coming out from Fulton County Election and Registration and from the South Metro Democratic Women's Council giving you voter information. Please put those cards aside so that you may keep up with the dates. And for those of you that are watching via Facebook or YouTube, thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody have a great evening.